Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Noona's Noonchi Live Deep Dive, getting or being introspective with K-dramas from a mental health perspective. It's been a while since I last saw you guys. The last time, sadly, or actually excitedly, I was in Pohang, Kongjin, aka Kongjin, which was a few weeks ago when I did a live there at the top of the mountain, seeing Hong Ban-jan's beautiful boat. And so just reminiscing about that. Thank you so much for following my trip to South Korea. It was just a beautiful family time, lovely time of self-discovery, and I did so much in the span of nearly 3 weeks. We did a lot, and even then I came back and went, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, I didn't do this. It was just too much to do. So my goal is to go back and maybe bring some of y'all. You know what I'm saying? So I think it'd be fun if I brought some people from the Noona's Noonchi community. Don't you think? Yeah. I see some friends on here. Thank you. I think the biggest thing, I just want to talk a little bit about my trip first. It was the first time in 10 years, as you guys know. That's a long time. And I think life just happened, passed me by, super busy. I was starting my own private practice, doing lots of stuff, raising 4 kids. And then when we went, it was, the last time I had gone, I had 4 little kids. So I was just really preoccupied with the kids and touring and all that stuff. This time it was more about me with my family, and 2 of the younger kids went with us. So it was very different. I was able to really focus on how I felt and the experiences of seeing some of the K-drama sites, which I made no time for 10 years ago. We had no time. But this time around, because it's not easy, by the way, to go see that stuff. It's not just always easily accessible. We had to really hunt them down, the Goblin Wall, figure out the right wall. I mean, the Goblin Wall, there's many walls, right? So we had to figure that out, go to the right space in Pohang. Looking for the homes in hometown Cha-Cha-Cha was not easy. It's on the other side of town. So it takes some time. And in Korea, if you think about it, it's like 100 degrees. So it was super hot. Couldn't wear any makeup because it was just so hot, but had a lot of fun. I'm used to that. We've always traveled to Korea in the summer, even growing up. Now, one of the things I want to just tell you guys coming up, I will be doing a series on identity, because I gained so much from my trip that I'm going to share it with you. And I think it's important I'll share from my perspective what I learned, and I hope that you can learn something from that. So that's a little bit of what, kind of what I've been uncovering, discovering my own background. I have quite a story. Okay. Yes, go in the winter. You know what? We did go in the winter. Sorry, I didn't say that. In 2002, we went in the winter over Christmas and New Year's, and that was quite fun. And we did a lot of pojangmatcha, the tents outside with the food. It was frigid cold, but we're used to that because I'm in the East Coast and it's cold. So I would like to go when it's not extreme weather, like the fall or the spring. So that is my goal. And I look forward to doing that. And perhaps, like I said, maybe with you guys, we'll discuss it. Okay. I'm trying to work on something, because I really want to share that experience. It's not just about seeing sights. It's about your mental health and how happy I felt there. Also, I was on vacation, so that helped. I didn't do any work. That helped. But I really got to uncover my family. And I have quite the story to share with you. I always knew about my family, but this is me telling you a little bit more about who I am, even though you know who I am, but you know who I am now, but not who I was and the times I've just kind of developed into my own as a Korean American therapist. Yes. So that said, let's talk about my favorite K-drama right now, because I have lots of favorites, right? Extraordinary. We'll talk about that word. Attorney Woo. So the Korean term Woo, right? Woo Young-woo. Now, let's first talk about the title, because there is some conflict over the title. In Korean, the title is 이상한 변호사 Woo Young-woo. In that interpretation, it means literally strange lawyer, Woo Young-woo, or weird or odd, okay? And maybe you heard that. But that's the literal term of 이상한, strange. In fact, when I'm saying 이상한, I'm not saying it nicely when I'm describing something or somebody. So you think of the Korean title, and that's, to me, I will be honest, because when you see the title on Netflix, you see the American title, but then I look at the Korean title too to know what it is. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So it didn't really grab my interest, to be honest with you, mainly because of the Korean title. And I knew right away from the picture and the posters what it was going to be about with an autistic attorney. That was clear. And you read the summary, right? So in all honesty, I was like, do I want to watch this? Because at the time, I think I started Yumi's Cells too. And Why Her? But this is just right off the bat, I want to tell you, I go with, and I'm sure you guys too, why do you watch K-dramas, right? The stories, the inspirational, I guess, storylines you get from the characters, the things you learn. Why do we keep watching them? Why can they be addictive? Well, as I started the first episode, I think I decided to watch it. This is way before the hoopla. This is actually when it first started. Like it was maybe like 3 episodes in. I'm like, oh, let me just start this. Why Her? Just finished. I'm done for the week. I need something. I loved it based on how I felt. Think about it. You watch something, right? How does it make you feel? That's such a generic question a therapist asks you, but that's super important. And that's what hooked me in. Yes, it's great to look at the famous actress, Park Eun-bin, of course, who plays Jun-ho. Kang Tae-ho, yeah, he's nice to look at, of course. And I loved him in, he was at Do At Your Service. I think that was the last one I saw, I think. So it's great to see the actors that you recognize and know. And there are a lot of other actors in there. They're making cameos in the episodes. And it's great. But I think what drew me in, and perhaps you, I'm not going to speak for you, is overall tone. The overall tone and mood in Korean, the punigi, the mood that you feel is uplifting. It's similar to perhaps when you're watching Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha and there's a comfort. I'm just giving examples, right? There's other dramas like My Liberation Notes and Our Blues that were grippingly emotional that I also loved, but very different, not necessarily uplifting, right? But this one was, I would just say from the get-go, you're like, oh, this is cute. Sorry, that's the generic word. Or this is fun, and I really like watching her. And we all know her. She was just off The King's Affection. We know she's a good actress. So that sense, it drew me in. Now, I talked about the title because I'm going to answer your questions. One of the main questions I got was, how do you think it's portraying autism? Well, I wanted to bring up the title being 이상한, strange in Korean, 변호사 우영우. Right off the bat, not great title, right? Not necessarily positive. Now, the American title, Extraordinary, is a little bit more upbeat. It has a positive connotation, but I decided to look up the dictionary term just to be like, extraordinary. I know what that means, but how sometimes you don't really look up the dictionary term. Well, according to the Webster definition, also a word that came up besides amazing, exceptional, and she is exceptional, right? Amazing is bizarre. That word was in there. I thought that was interesting. Why am I talking about this? Because there's a lot of hearsay and feedback, a lot of articles out there, people being interviewed about it, about the show, people talking about the show on social media like TikTok and Instagram. And I just wanted to chime in just with my perspective that I decided to look up these definitions and look it all up. And I understand already from the get-go, the title could seem a little bit off-putting, right? So just validating what some people are saying out there, because that's important to do that. People will always have their own opinions about how something's portrayed, whether it's depression and you're suffering from it or struggling with it, or a mental illness or physical illness like cancer or autism. On this particular one, yes, we're seeing high functioning, also known as HFA. Okay. And then we did see in episode 3, which I also like that episode, another version of autism on the other end of the spectrum. The spectrum, by the way, it is called ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder is the correct term. It is a spectrum. So think of a spectrum. It's like a rainbow of colors, lots of different colors. And then you could be like blue-green or red-orange, right? Or purple, right? All on the different parts of the spectrum. Not one case is the same. I believe this drama, and I'm going to say this, I am a licensed therapist, but that does not mean I'm an expert in autism. However, I will share this. I do have somewhat of an expert in my household. Who's that expert I tell you? My husband. My husband is a special education expert, and he has an advanced degree in that and was a special education teacher and even worked at a school for autistic children. Now, let me tell you, there are a couple times when I visited him, it can be a little daunting and scary at times when you do see all sorts of behaviors. And I witnessed that a little bit as I was there. And this is before I became a therapist and understood everything. So I'm giving you that perspective because the lack of education I perhaps had, or the experience and exposure, made me a little like, oh gosh, oh my gosh, honey, this is hard. What you have to do, you have to pin kids down. These are folks on the other end of the spectrum, okay? And he's seen it all. So just talking about it with him is nice. And I'm blessed to have that, right? Just to have that perspective. Now he's a public school administrator, but that's his background in special education. So that's probably why we have that joint commonality in doing what we're doing and what we're doing. Sorry. So I wanted to share that. Now, my personal experience and professional experience, I want to definitely endorse that her portrayal, according to what's being said and what's being seen and what we're seeing, is pretty good. But I'm also going to validate those folks that feel like, hey, this is stereotypical. This is just you showing one side of it, which is the fun side or the good side or the easy side to watch. But I'm going to say this. What are we watching? We are watching a Korean drama. Drama. So at the end of the day, it's entertainment, right? Meaning, why do they want to draw us in? They want the viewers to be captivated by these stories. But I think at the end of the day, she is doing a good job, or the actress. Wow, it's not easy. It must have been actually very daunting to do something like this, I think. I don't think I could have done it, right? Because you're afraid of getting something wrong. And you will get that criticism or that feedback, constructive criticism. By the way, there's no such thing as constructive criticism. Just say it's criticism. So criticism you get, everyone's going to have something to say, whether you yourself are autistic or an autistic savant, which is what Yu is. She's a genius, right? Genius autistic savant. That's what they call it. Savant syndrome. You've seen that quite a bit. Now, the other K-dramas, It's Okay to Not Be Okay, Move to Heaven, showed also on that high functioning scale through male characters, very different. Why do you think this is so unique? And I love that the screenwriter mentioned it. By the way, I'm reading every article under the sun on it because, first of all, I love reading, but then also knowing what's being said out there and what made them do something like this. And I loved what the actual writer said. She wanted to show it from a female perspective. Generally speaking, according to research, males are diagnosed more with autism. That doesn't mean they necessarily have it more, but that's what the research shows, right? I think almost like 2 or 3 times more. But females, we don't get to see that a lot. And then we get to see her in a position of being an attorney, and each case is unique. And she's not winning all the cases. I mean, in fact, I will say, oh my gosh, is she going to win all the cases? That's so generic. No, she's struggling and she's not winning. And then she has technically not a bad person, but an antagonist, right? What's his name? Kwon Minu, I think. Yeah, you know what I mean? He's pushing the buttons, kind of dig some dirt on her, being rude to her, hiding things from her, whatever, right? You got to have some of that. But you know how K-dramas work? Because I'm watching him and being like, what's going to turn him around, right? How is Young-woo going to win him over? Something's going to happen. You know how that is, that heartwarming stuff. That's what I sense. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. Yes, that's a trope, but I love the tropes, and I'm pretty sure you do too. That's why we keep watching them sometimes, right? So this overall, I would say, is healing, uplifting in a world of what's going on today. And because I took a whole month off, I needed that. But when you're in mental health and you're a mental health professional treating clients, talking to leaders, organizations, you see and hear it all. I needed a drama like this. Now, after my Liberation Notes ended in Our Blues, I was a little bit in a little funk. Were you guys in a funk? There were some cute dramas like Yumi Cells and Why Her was good, but Why Her was a little intense. You know, that intense courtroom drama. And I just wanted something a little bit less uncomfortable to watch. And this is it. And so I hope that answers that first question about how ASD is portrayed. Again, not saying I'm an expert, but I think it's really well done. Go with your gut. If you're enjoying something, then you're enjoying something for a reason. A lot of folks will say, oh, I'm enjoying this, and then they see all this criticism. You get very swayed by social media. I do like social media, but be careful what you read sometimes. It can sway you. But if you're enjoying it, you enjoy it for a reason. If you're not enjoying it, then go with that. You're not enjoying it, right? And just because this is a super popular drama doesn't mean that everyone's going to enjoy it, but it is doing extremely well in Korea. So excited about that. Extremely well globally. And oh my goodness, already talking about a US remake. we're a little skeptical about that, but that still shows you the popularity. And I really believe it's popular because we always need that hope. I'll talk more about hope, but you want to hope that that workplace like that, we could have a workplace like that, that's encouraging and, or knows about her autism, clearly brings it up to her, right? But not in a way that's mean or discriminatory. I mean, like just flat out facts. Again, that's breaking through some of the stigma, saying, hey, your autism, okay, don't repeat things. I like that. That's just not hiding it. I think the more we talk about it, the more we see stories, we're addressing the stigma behind all of this that we're uncovering and still learning about. Now, overall, okay, what is my big takeaway? Now, there's 10 episodes so far. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for episode 11 and 12. Yeah, that's like tomorrow. I'll try to get through work. Episode 10 was a great way to end. Moving this little text right here. I loved it, but let me talk about my favorite episodes so far. It wasn't 10. No spoilers. Hold on, I'm going to read this one comment. Someone says they feel sad whenever they see TikTok reels of real autistic who say that they don't like the representation of EAW. Yes, but then there are some folks that say they like the representation of EAW. Perhaps what's coming out are the negative. The brain, human brain, goes right to the negative. I am on TikTok to spy on my kids. No, I'm kidding. I'm also on TikTok, but I limit what I watch for my own mental health. So I'd rather read and see things that will help me than discourage me. But there is a video. Who is this guy? Let me look it up if I pulled him up. He's really encouraging. He's autistic himself. I think it was Jeremy something. And I think his video went viral, but he talked about what he liked about this K-drama. So check that one out. And yes, there's other ones that say they don't like it, but also respect that because we all have our own opinions, right? And it might be something else that's portrayed that you see something. I'll be very honest with you. It's okay. That's love. Lovely K-drama, entertaining, but you see me not talk about it much because for me, it wasn't triggering, but I was like, oh my goodness, like some of this is unrealistic, like, client confidentiality, client and patient, the doctor and patient relationship wouldn't be appropriate, that kind of stuff. I have problems with that because it's just what I do for a living. So I'm like, that triggered me because I'm particular about confidentiality and professionalism. That's just me. So I liked that drama, but when people are like, how come you're not mentioning it's okay, that's love? That's why. Because I thought maybe it's a little bit dramatized. So well done. Love the actors. I love Kong Hyo-jin. But just the fact that it had a little bit of that was difficult for me to swallow. So I want to give you that example. So that said, respect people's opinions where they're at. And that's super important. It's going to happen when you feel a certain way and you want to be validated, right? So let's go to the crux of my favorite episode. Episode 5. Episode 5. Mic drop. No. Why? Rewatch that episode. If you guys rewatch episodes as a K-drama is playing, I do that, especially if I love it. That has every element of what I think we could walk away from this K-drama. Let's talk specifically about Young-woo being real about, we're seeing a K-drama from her perspective of a person with autism, their perspective. Isn't that neat? She is sharing her thoughts openly, and we see that every episode. Okay. Every episode, her learning the things she struggles with. I think that's great. So you're seeing her perspective, perhaps for the first time. I'm trying to think, Move to Heaven. It really didn't come up much, his perspective. And also It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Good Doctor, not so much either, right? This is her, and she's sharing her innermost thoughts, particularly with Jun-ho, right? Obviously the love interest. Don't you love that storyline? I do. Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't want a romantic storyline? But I like the fact that it's not the core of the drama, right? It's part of it. It's a highlight. It's a very strong factor of the character development, particularly for her and him. But overall, it's overarching her and her work and what she's doing and each case having their own story. But episode 5, that particular story was, it was actually not the most fun case. It was about a trademark, like the whole the ATM product, right? Who created it, who invented it, and they had to defend that, right? What I love though was not that case, be honest with you, but everything around that case where Young was like, how can I tell if a person's lying? First of all, None of us are experts on seeing how a person's lying, but I love the fact that she pointed out a little thing from her to her best friend. Don't you love the best friend? Her best friend's like, just look him in the eye. That's true too. As a therapist, I'm not trying to see if you're lying. So if I'm staring at you, it's not that. It's me really trying to use my Noonchi to gauge what's really going on with you. So I will be looking at you like this, you know? Now, those with autism struggle. She said that. It's kind of hard for me to look at people, right? So true. So I love that she brought that up, reminded her friend. Her friend's like, right, then look at him here. And either way, it worked for her. Or Jun-ho said the arms, looking at the body language is what he's saying. Yes, body language is huge. But it is difficult to really gauge, I'll be honest with you, all of that without looking at their face, right? Or their expressions. He said something interesting in that episode. He goes, people can fake facial expressions. Yes, they can. Can't you? You could say, oh, I'm fine. But your body language shows differently. Your heart might be racing. You might be about to cry and leave. That's pretty true. So when she looks at all the body language that he advises her to do, I thought that was really strong language. Why am I bringing that up? Because I'm just saying in general, look at how much it takes for us to really gauge people. I use my Noonchi, and I really delve deep to use my Noonchi, but it takes work, right? To be like, what's going on? I got to see you 3 or 4 times to really understand it. That was really important to me. And then, can I tell you my favorite line of the whole K-drama? Do you guys have a favorite quote? I'm going to reveal it here. Let's see if I can pull it up because I have to write it down. There's 2 favorite quotes. And you know who said it? Yeah, Jun-ho said it. Now, I'm not trying to play favoritism, but he's probably my favorite character besides Young-woo. Not because he's cute. Really, I'm being very honest. It's because he says some great things. He is a very good listener. He is who you want in your corner. He's what I think any autistic person would want as their friend, boyfriend, bestie, whatever. Because that is critical to, I guess, survive in this world when you are struggling with a disability. Think about it. And that's my main point for today. So let's go to episode 4 first. Jun-ho says, I was going to say it in Korean, but I'm not going to bother. So if I was in Korea, I would have to. I want to be on the same side as you, attorney Woo. I want an attorney like you to be on my side. And he said that to her when she was struggling with the case. I think episode 4, which was, I forgot. Anybody remember? I forget which case it was, but she was kind of thinking things through. And he said, well, I want you on my side. What a great thing to say when someone needs it. Have you said that to someone lately? I want to be on your side. I would love for you to be my side. I would love for you to be my lawyer. Wow, you are a great friend. That's a simple line. Look at the Korean, because I'm going to butcher it. Lovely Korean. In fact, the Korean is beautifully said, even more so than the translation. Say that it's in episode 4 at the very end. And I thought that touched me, and I wanted to bring that up. That's one of my favorite lines. Here's my second favorite line. Episode 5, they're in the car, and she shares, people like me, people could take advantage of us, basically. She's saying, I can't tell people lying. People could lie to me. I kind of know they may be, but, she's indicating the brain chemicals or the brain, the brain function obviously doesn't quite grasp cognitively, hey, someone's lying to me, and then make the connection of, let me make sure I behave in that way where they don't lie to me again, and show that she shared that disconnect, that she has to really work hard to know that someone's lying to me, and then again, she might forget about it, right? And then he says, I want you to walk away with this. Thanks for sharing, share more of these stories. We need to hear more of these stories from you. I mean, he's talking specifically you, but let's just talk about folks who have a disability or folks with autism. We want to hear more of your stories, because then he says it helps me understand you. So early on, I shared that when I was first exposed, what my husband did, he worked in a center, and it was a little scary. I didn't quite understand. I did, but not really. You kind of know, but are you doing research on it? Are you re-educating on it? But the more you hear these stories, or the more you watch these stories, is my point. We're seeing a K-drama. We are seeing one side of a story, one side of a person, right? Not one side of a person, sorry. One person's life, one example of autism, just one example, but that is enough to give us one glimpse of that story. And then there'll be other stories out there. And I think that's really important. At the end of the day, the thing I want to get back to you is your support system. She is flourishing, and here's where the criticism is going, oh my gosh, how realistic is her workplace? Okay, we're going to go back to the fact that it's a drama. Of course, it's not realistic always to have everyone be like, you're awesome, Jun-ho. Yes, I'm going to tear up your resignation. I don't think you should resign. You're the best lawyer. You're great. Yeah, of course, that's part of the drama, but we can hope that it exists. Yes, it does exist out there. You have support systems that are supportive. I hope you're finding that. But she is flourishing because she has the good lawyer friend, even that antagonist, even though he's kind of in the way, still that's spurring her confidence on to be like, let me fight for my talents and skills as an attorney. You see her talking back a little bit to him. I think that's really cool. But even her boss, seeing all of that, it gives us an encouragement. You want to see that. If you saw toxic workplaces on in K-dramas, like you see that a little bit in My Mister, I was thinking a lot about My Mister. That's why it's a little bit depressing, right? I love that K-drama, but you have a little bit of a different tone. This one's upbeat. You're like, that's so cool. They really respect her, or they're protecting her. They put their arm around her. Yes, of course there's ableism, but there's ableism everywhere. But the way it's being addressed in every episode, I think, is very good. You got to see some of that because that does exist, right? I really like the fact that, as unrealistic as some folks say it is, that it gives us hope. And that's why we're cheering her on. So are her coworkers. They're cheering her on. So at the very end of the day, these stories, as Jun-ho shared, help me understand you. Us watching them help us understand folks different from us. And this is just the beginning. Korean dramas did that. Our Blues did that too with someone with Down syndrome. And we saw her side of the story now that she really did have Down syndrome. So that's great. So we're hopefully going to see more folks who have the reality of being able to act that out. Does that make sense? Who really are struggling with that. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up with you, I love research. Can you tell? The Autism Spectrum disorder symptoms, there was some criticism on whether or not that's accurate. Well, when I first saw it, I think that's pretty accurate from my experience. I have worked with a couple HFAs, they're mainly adults, and have some friends who have high functioning autistic children, adults. But I had to still look it up in the diagnostic manual, which is the therapist's basically book of where we diagnose, and I can diagnose. Now, even autism spectrum disorder is difficult, but we can diagnose it. Professionals like myself that are licensed. Everything under the sun. I mean, this is a big book here, right, by the way. Very big book. See how I've had it over the years? It is accurate, the way she's showing the symptoms. And here's the final thing. I didn't even post the article. I should have. A Florida's first known autistic attorney, endorses the drama, saying, oh my gosh, I relate to everything she's doing. Now, again, we are seeing high functioning, one end of the spectrum. So let's remember that. So yes, that's one end. And maybe perhaps we'll see another one, which we did in episode 3. Episode 10 was another disability that we saw. And I think I heard some folks saying, oh, that was hard to watch. That was badly watched. So no matter what, you're going to get some sort of feedback. But if you look at the overall context of the story, what are you getting? Something that perhaps we didn't see before, and some more education, unbeknownst to us, through a story. That's why I love K-dramas. And at the end of the day, we're talking mental health, mental illness, two different things being talked about. Okay? And when I say mental illness, some people have said, hey, Jeannie, stop saying autism spectrum disorder is a mental illness. Technically, that's the term. So I'm not trying to trigger you. But why can't I say that? Because mental illness is, I don't want to stigmatize it. It is part of there's a diagnosis out there. Mental illness is there. The more we talk about it, the more education we know. We're not going to be like, ooh, Jeannie just said that's a mental illness. Just like there's a physical illness, we need to have the same perspective of mental illness and physical illness, not have that stigma. So that's why I was being very clinical when I said mental illness. Now, there's other words for it, neurodivergent, compared to the neurotypical, right? And those are also very accurate. But I tend to say, well, it's a mental health disorder, and that's literally what it's labeled, because I am a licensed professional. So I get, in that sense, sometimes I get in that head of going, I want to use those correct words so we're more familiar with it, right? And so that's why I did that, because I know some folks were saying, just say neurodivergent. You can say both. You can say both. But it's technically, in this manual, autism spectrum disorder, It is a mental health disorder, okay? So that said, at the very end of the day, I hope we can walk away with, I was looking at my notes, empathy and compassion like Jun-ho. Again, I'm not being biased because he's cute to look at, yes, of course, but I really like his character. It is, I would say, giving her space. Clearly liked her from the get-go. He probably liked her first, I think so, right? But gave her the space. Really, I want to say, enjoying seeing her expressions. And it wasn't because of her disability. He wasn't like, oh, she's autistic, let me humor her. No, it was like he genuinely liked her and saw her beauty, right? And again, this is a drama, but it's great for us to see that. So what can we learn from him? How can we, maybe there are people that you interact with. Maybe there are people in your family. How can you hear their stories? I think it does begin with being a good listener and giving the space. Maybe you never gave anybody space to share. Maybe they're sharing, but you're like not really listening. Have you ever had that happen? I mean, as much as a therapist I am, sometimes I don't listen. I'm like, did they share that? I missed it. You can miss some things. And so listen a little bit more keenly, perhaps to folks you know that may be more like Young-woo. And it's your turn to go, you know what? I just realized that helped me understand this person better. What am I learning from this K-drama? Why am I doing Noona's Noonchi? Well, it's obviously at the very end of the day, how these K-dramas can benefit our lives by changing some of our behavior, perhaps. Changing our stigmas. Breaking through that, saying, let's talk about this. That's why I do that. Anyway, that article, I believe, came through the Korea Times about that Florida attorney. I'll try to post it. I thought it was a great article, and she listed everything. And if you look at everything that she's doing, some people are saying, oh, it's so cute, it's so quirky. That's some of the criticism. It's cute, as in it's on a drama, but that's also real life behavior. So let's not minimize that, right? Is there enemies to lovers, K-dramas you recommend? Okay, whenever people ask me off the bat, I'll get back to you on that. There's a lot of them, I think, right? So I will definitely recommend that to you. I like that he likes her and that he allows her to be herself. He's interested in who she is and how she sees the world. Yeah, and you saw that earlier on when he decided to show her that whale. I think it's a realistic photo in the boardroom. Why can't they go back to that, by the way? Oh my goodness. And I didn't put in my notes. This is why I almost forgot to mention it. Speaking of whales, I'll do another live on that. I love in each episode, we see an emotional breakthrough symbolized in the whale. And I think that's really important. I thought, to me, this is my personal opinion, it's so artistically, beautifully done. They do get fixated on something, right? Whatever that is, it's her kimbap. She eats every day. She loves whales. She's fixated on that, loves everything about whales. But they're also her emotional breakthrough and connection of inspiration. So that's super important. So next time you see that, watch it next, right? We always see that either at the end or in the middle of her going, oh my gosh, I'm having a moment. Don't you love that? Yeah. I'm with you. People say they listen, but they actually don't. Yes. And so listening, I think I talked this before, so I'm going to say this to you again, a little tip. Remember reflective listening. This is hard for folks with autism. Reflective listening is looking at the person's face, their body language. If they're looking down, do they have some tears here? You probably, I don't know if you're watching me, but I can get a little emotional when I'm talking about these deep dives because I think I really relate. I just love them, right? And I want to talk about it and get my clients to really understand and normalize mental health. Well, I want to say reflective listening is going to be a mirror image and going, oh, you know, what's Ramona saying? Oh my gosh, what does she really mean? You know what? Her eyes look sad. Or, wow, she keeps messing up with her hair. Is she like really stressed out? Is she nervous? That's reflective listening. Active listening is, I think, I'm not kind of blasting on that, but it's a little bit more than than active listening. It's much more attuned to the entire body. And it takes practice, and you can miss something. So, what did he say in episode 4? Can you interpret who said what? Ask me that before I get off the live. Tell me exactly what you mean. The bar right scenes where it was Tho 2. What do you mean in episode 10? There's so much good stuff. What's refreshing is how they don't shy away from talking about her symptoms. Yes! Her boss, I love him. Kang Gi-young? Is it Kang Gi-young? I sometimes get the actors mixed up. He did a good job saying, okay, we're not going to repeat. We're not going to repeat things. Stop doing that. Remember, you have autism. You know, I think there were a couple times it was not degrading to me. You know what? I'm going to say the way I took it was she was open from episode 1. Hey, folks, be a little patient with me. I'm autism. I may seem a little awkward to you. Boom, right off the get-go, broke the ice, saying what it is. And now her colleagues say what it is. And I think that's good. So I think we get uncomfortable about saying things, but let's work through that uncomfortability. Clearly, we still have what? How many episodes left? 4 or 5 episodes left. And I think we're going to uncover more. Now, with the antagonist, so-called not so bad guy, but kind of, I think there's going to be something with him. You know, with him, though, I love the fact, you're going to think, Jeannie, what's going on? That he's trying to dig up dirt. When someone tries to dig up dirt on you or tries to find some fault with you, what's really going on? What's really going on? What's really going on is someone like her, Jun-ho, even though she feels like she has a deficit, she shared it. She goes, you know, I have this going against me. I'm not going to really help you win a case. She said that. And that's when Jun-ho said, yes, I want you on my side. Yes, you can help win a case. He's competing with her like there's no tomorrow, you know? So when someone's trying to find this dirt on you and be like, wait a second, you got in because of nepotism or favoritism. You got basically special treatment, right? And that's a big deal everywhere, all of us. None of us really like special treatment and someone else getting that. Bigger deal in Korea, I believe. But generally speaking, that is one thing. Yes, she did get in a little bit, you know, in that sense because of the connection with friends. But she also got in for her own right, for her skills. We all know that. But I love the fact that he has to find something on her. I'm a little bit nervous of how that's going to look, right? Because he's going to find it. But he feels threatened. And in that scene, gosh, do I remember the episode? Maybe it was episode 7 when they went to the city, the outside town, and saw the tree and they were trying to defend the road being built. He actually said, she's not weak. She's the strong. Do you remember that? So in some sense, I think, yeah, he actually sees her for who she is, her gift and her talent, but can't accept the fact that she also has autism. So he's like, what? You know? So there is a little bit of that discrimination, but still, let's point that out. Someone tries to compete with you. Ever have that happen in real life? Someone tries to find stuff on you, find fault with you, point stuff out. Yeah, hello. Yeah, you have this. Yeah. Well, let's consider it. Take a step back, even though it's difficult. Perhaps they're finding you to be, in some sense, competitive. You got something going for you. You're doing pretty well. They're threatened. That's what happens. And you may find yourself in that position doing that. I hope not. But just take a step back and go, do I do that to somebody because I'm jealous or I'm feeling threatened? That's what's going on with her. Isn't that cool, though? I mean, I'm just bringing that up. That's just a positive side of things, of being, hey, gosh, obviously you think she's awesome. And so you're trying to find everything you can to, like, beat her, right? Yeah, exactly. But a fear, exactly. And you know what? He has his own story. We don't know his story. Maybe he really had to struggle. Maybe he was never taken seriously, you know? So again, K-dramas do a good job of showing multi-dimensions. We're going to see it, I believe, somehow soon. Insecure, yep. Let's see. The representation of the drama is not the problem, but the subsequent expectation of the audience related to us may be the problem. My eldest has autism, and those expectations scare me. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. These are the stories we need to hear. I think you're right. Don't forget, I think overall everybody has not just expectations, but stereotypes and what they've seen before. And that's the fear over this drama too. Folks who who have kids with autism or have autism, they're like, oh great, now people are going to expect us to be like Jun-ho, like this brilliant attorney. I get that. And I think that's a legitimate worry. And so just validating that, how can we change that? Well, getting more stories out there, you know, and I think we're seeing them through K-dramas, through movies. It's not just K-dramas, but I think it's great. The reason why it's a big deal in Korea and that it's doing well is because Korea still is a little bit behind, I think, compared to the U.S. when it comes to talking about mental health and mental illness. I was just there. So I sensed it too. You know, it's very different. And the younger demographic, when I say the younger demographic, the Gen Zs and millennials struggle because they want to talk about it, right? But the older demographic, technically me, like their parents, are like, no, right? So I think it's a big deal to shift and see these stories. And it's just one step, right? But one really good step, and it's going global. And I think that's great. So first of all, if you're enjoying it, enjoy it. I do, and I think it's fun. And I don't enjoy everything. right? That's why I'm very picky about the K-dramas I watch. Sometimes you guys are like, did you see this? Did you see this? I'm like, no. I don't have all the time, but I also am very picky about what I will watch for my mental health. So I'm going to wrap up soon. It's kind of strange that she was paired with the hot lawyer. The hot lawyer? Oh, that one? Yeah, I thought that was funny. Her best friend thinks that lawyer's hot, that the antagonist technically. Isn't that funny? And Jun-ho thinks Jun-ho is the good-looking one, right? So that said, we're in South Korea, there are no autistic lawyers, but in the U.S. there are. Well, I agree with that. Or in South Korea, we don't know if they're autistic. They may not share it. I think a lot of things go undetected. So even though folks are not saying something, they could be, and they don't share it. And I hope that we change that. That's not normal, meaning it's not normal to live that way, to hide a part of your identity that's so a big part of your identity, right? And that's why I came back going, gosh, for someone like me who didn't necessarily enjoy being Korean, can you believe that? I hid that, even though clearly I might look it. That was just me. And so that I'm uncovering that, and that's why I can help a lot of people who struggle with their Asian identity. So thank you so much. I always say I'm going to do it for 30 minutes, but I think I talk longer than that. But thank you for joining me. I love this. Let's keep watching. Tomorrow on the East Coast, Wednesday, is when episode 11 comes out. Who can't watch? Yeah, I can't wait. I will watch it the minute it comes out. Yeah. And then episode 12. We'll talk about it. I will definitely post about it, obviously, and do more lives, and stay tuned. And then let me know, though, if you guys are interested in going to South Korea, because I'm very serious about it. Organizing a trip. Yeah, we'll think about it. I'll do the best I can. All right, folks, you're welcome. Loved it. Love you guys. Stay in touch and have a good rest of the week. Let's talk about episode 11 and 12 in the next couple days. Bye.